Hi, I'm Steve Clapham. Welcome to the Behind the Balance Sheet podcast, where we meet leading investors and commentators and educate ourselves about the world of investing and the world at large. Our mission is to remove some of the mystique around investing and improve our understanding of what makes a successful investment or indeed an unsuccessful one. Our goal is to inform, educate, and entertain. We hope you enjoy this and every episode.
Behind the Balance Sheet and affiliates and podcast guests may own shares or have an economic interest in securities discussed in this podcast, which is aired for your education and entertainment only. Nothing in this podcast should be construed as investment advice or relied upon for investment decisions. Always do your own research.
Hi, I'm Steve Clapham. I'm the founder of Behind the Balance Sheet, and I'm here with Annabelle Massey-Collier from Blackwood, the leading executive search firm, where she focuses on hiring private equity executives. And we're going to talk about the difference between public markets and private markets and what to think about when you're going for a job in private equity. So Annabelle, welcome. And first thing is, how should people decide? Do they want to be a public market investor or do they want to be a private market investor? What's the difference between private equity and public equity?
I think fundamentally it's a question of depth and breadth. So people who go into private equity are usually really excited by the opportunity to work with a small number of companies very, very closely, go into a lot of depth with them and help drive them on their growth journeys. Whereas with public equities, obviously there's much more breadth, but potentially not as much of an opportunity to be so hands-on in the future of a business.
And are there different types of personalities that work with those two different types of roles? With your in private equity, are you more numbers focused, do you think? Or
I think the spectrum of funds within private equity is really, really broad. So there are some funds that probably require more of an outgoing personality. They might require you to do more sourcing and be more hands-on meeting management teams. But you're always going to find a range of personalities everywhere. I think it more boils down to the fundamental skill set of being very numerate, very technical and commercially astute.
And what sort of people get a job in private? What's an ideal background to have to get a job in private equity?
Yeah. I would say the vast majority of candidates that we place come from investment banking backgrounds and management consulting. There are funds that are open to hiring people from more entrepreneurial backgrounds, but I would say the vast majority is banking and consulting.
And why is that? Is it the sort of technical skills? Is that what it is?
Yeah, investment banking and consulting as well provide really good training grounds for just developing the skill set that you fundamentally need in private equity. So modelling skills, kind of view on commercial businesses, and how to monitor the business over its life cycle.
And if you're going into one of these processes, there's a lot of these are desirable jobs, right? So there's a lot of competition for them. Well, how do you set yourself apart? What are the few things that you should do to really stand out?
Yeah, I think first of all you need to find what you get really excited by. So is that being very, very deep in the numbers, and is that what you have a natural affinity for? And if so, then you need to spend a lot of time practicing LBO models to make sure that you can perform your best in processes. If you get really excited by the commercials of a business, maybe helping an earlier stage company achieve its growth, then at university spending time working with consulting teams that might do startup projects, things like that. So I think deciphering early on what you get really excited by and what you're naturally good at, and then spending a lot of time honing those skills, because ultimately processes are quite short and test quite a limited part of your skill set. So you just need to make sure that you can excel every time you do a process.
And I mean, it seems, quite peculiar to me, because I'm quite old, that you need to be so sure about what you want to do so early on. Well, what about, somebody like me who didn't really know what they wanted to do? How do you decide what's the, which part of private equity, what style? Are there any tips? Are there things that you can read, or how would you prepare yourself?
Yeah, I think it's a base point, just start reading the press and see whether you're excited by mega cap deals and how private equity work with them to grow them, or if you're more excited by the startup world and the world of entrepreneurialism. that's probably a good starting point. I think having conversations with people in the industry who are by and large very happy to give their time to help people get in is really important. Understanding, what people actually do on a day-to-day, and if you think that's something you would want to do. And then I think a third port of call is just speaking to headhunters, because we have quite a good outside-in view of the market and can hopefully be quite helpful in pointing people in the right direction.
So try and find a friend of your dad's, a friend of your mum's that's in private equity, and try and spend some time with them would be a good way of
it doesn't have to be a friend of your parents. It can be someone that you just find on LinkedIn who might have gone to the same university as you, or someone who comes from the same country as you. Just finding a way in, leveraging your network. I appreciate that everyone might not have a network, but trying to use LinkedIn, trying to use headhunters, going to events. There are a lot of organizations now that are really good at putting on events to try and get people in. So Level 20 partner up with a lot of firms and run breakfast events or drinks events. So just trying to put your name out there, getting to know people, surveying the market for events that you can attend is quite
that's a good idea.
A good way to get in the door.
And what's the most sort of common reason for failure? So when you've got a candidate you think is quite good, and they don't get to the next stage, why does that happen?
Largely lack of preparation.
Right.
So I think a common thing that we hear is people saying, oh, I do modelling every day in my day job, but you actually haven't really practiced it under 90-minute time pressure before, and that can be really challenging. So spending the time to do tasks under time pressure and to actually prepare your answers, research the fund that you're interviewing with and why you really find that portfolio interesting is really important. I would say lack of preparation is the #1 reason for people not doing well in processes. And then I think the second point is just, does someone have a natural commercial instinct? Do they really understand fundamentally how businesses make money and why they might make a good investment opportunity, which again takes time and application to try and figure out.
And that idea of sort of investigating the portfolio, you as the headhunter would help a candidate and explain to them what's in the portfolio, presumably.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's much easier if it's a public market, then it's obvious what the company, often what the manager owns.
Yeah.
But with private equity, it's not necessarily so straightforward.
Yeah. Generally, it's fairly easy to figure out what a private equity fund has in its portfolio. It's obviously harder to figure out how those businesses are actually doing. But a lot of these things are straightforward. The whole team will usually be on the website. All of their portfolio companies will be on the website. You can read around the press, how the businesses are doing, what the general market sentiment is about that company, whether it was a good deal or a bad deal. And again, speaking to people in the industry can teach you a lot. So I think it can seem like quite an opaque industry at first.
Yeah.
But with a bit of research and speaking to the right people, it can become a lot clearer.
Oh, that's good. So the takeaways are, if you want to get a job in private equity, do your preparation, understand what the private equity company does, what it's in its portfolio, and make sure that you've practiced your damn models, because that's the thing where people fall down. Annabelle, that's been fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm Steve Clapham from Behind the Balance Sheet. Thanks for watching.